Let me just bring Mo into it as well. Mo, you've also been driving during the pandemic as well. What have you made of the safety measures that Transport for London have put in? Do they go far enough for you?
Yeah, thank you, Disa, for bringing me in. So first, I just share the condolences with all those bus drivers, the bereaved families, the loved ones that's listening actually in as well. And the safety measures, I think one of the safety measures were brought in um, during a time frame. However, we must look at the lockdown was the problem was the lockdown was brought in my opinion, far too late, and then obviously the safety measures had to kick in a later date. I mean, the safety measures that we brought in was obviously a lot of the safety measures we brought in was when bus drivers started to carry out those safety measures themselves, like covering the ceiling of the cabs themselves with cling film and stuff. The nearest side seats on the buses, they were sealed off by the drivers. And by the way, those actions that we're doing as bus workers, we were sharing these actions amongst bus workers on social media. And then eventually, by the way, those safety measures were brought in and endorsed, applied by Transport for London. The doors being sealed off as well. That was something that we, as a trade union, played a role in making sure those front doors were closed off and the middle. But then again, that was delayed as well because the Transport for London said we want to carry out a trial on one of the bus depots before it was rolled out. We said that's nonsense. We can't have a trial. Eventually, after 1 week of trial, we had to go through before it was implemented on London buses. I mean, there was other protections such as safeguarding the most vulnerable bus workers. And by the way, we have 20,000 bus drivers in London, and predominantly are Black, Asian, ethnic minority, and we're one of the most important transport workers in the country, and dominantly we're the most diverse workforce in the country.
Mo?
So we'd have to look at how we're going to protect those workers. And there was other more I can mention if you give me the opportunity.
Yeah, Mo, we've got Mo back on the line as well. Mo, what further safety measures are you calling for?
We're calling for more, like, we know that some operators have introduced temperature check-in on drivers.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we're looking for. We just implemented the seat capacity limit on the buses, so a number of passengers, but that makes it difficult for us to police. But we've got a procedure in place now, which means that we're allowed to skip stops if we've now reached that safe capacity limit. We're also asking for employers to look at risk assessments additionally on how Black, Asian, ethnic minorities are being impacted on the buses and to be looked into for more details. We've also got University of College London to look into study onto that on the second part of their studies, and how disproportionately Black, Asian, ethnic minorities are being impacted. We're obviously going to be looking at how we can probably redesign the buses for future, and to be consulted further. I think one of the things that John mentioned about the buses, that the negotiations and the joined up thinking he was referring to, we need to have, obviously, I think because we have got too many operators competing amongst each others, we need to be looking at forward of one employer, where directly we are dealing with one, negotiation with one employer implementing safety measures, rather than people competing amongst each other on how to introduce safety measures, not at the cost of lives and putting priority of health before profits.